All right, I got my analytics up here. Perfect. That way I can see the comments that you guys happen to make. So moving on to there. There we go. Share out my screen for you. There we go. So we got WEBULL up, and we got some action going on with ARVL. One of the big things coming out of Wall Street Bets is a case that what we have is a lot of short interest taking place. That what we see in the percentages, that's like 8 or 9% short, isn't necessarily accurate, and basically that there's a lot of contract buying followed by contract exercise with option contracts trying to kind of go back and forth between covering positions across, well, from the case that they made it sound like it was across two separate institutions, so that one would buy a whole bunch of contracts, then the other one would, and then exercise those contracts, and then it would keep on showing that those shorts were covered, which they also made the case with some SEC things that that this is an activity that really shouldn't be happening. So they refer to as illegal activity. So you can see the volume spike that we had yesterday towards market close. It was somewhere around 3:30 or so when that Wall Street Bets post was made, and we had that huge volume spike. And I just put out a video, I think it came out around 9 o'clock, so about 18 minutes ago, and talking about some of these high volume spikes that we have in ARVL going back through time. And I'm not going to go through the days, but you can see that they all happen somewhere around like 10:30 to 11:30 each day, that you just have these enormous volume spikes. So this, what we could be seeing there in those volume spikes, is some of that that contract exercising taking place in order to make it look as though short positions are being covered when they really aren't being covered. So it's just a way to kind of to work the system, if you will. So we have our eyes on that right now. Currently over 23, it hit 25.44 in the pre-market. This could be a really exciting day for ARVL, or an exciting couple of days for ARVL as we watch it play out. Let's take a look to see where AMC is. There we are. So AMC is selling off a little bit into the coming into the market open here, which is in about 10 minutes or so. We'll see how that takes off. It is possible, if it's the same crowd that's in on ARVL as it is on AMC, you could see like a shifting of money in there in order to move around and catch on to that momentum. So it doesn't mean that there's any back and forth or anything like that. It's just one possibility that could happen. It'd be interesting to watch what happens if we get a short squeeze or even a gamma squeeze, that the change in the price is so rapid, that the change in delta is so rapid, that what we end up happening is an acceleration in the price of those options contracts. And we could really see a lot of buying coming into ARVL. Let me go back to that, since the one I was talking about. There you go. So normally when you have a volume spike like this, that usually carries on into the next day, that you get that sort of momentum. And I think a lot of people coming into that news when the market is actually open, the market makers are in and active after that 9:30 bell. That's when we should really start to see if we are going to get some action with some upward momentum on this. That's when we'll really see it take place. We could see some profit taking right at the beginning, where people who were in yesterday at this closing price, we continue to see that trade up, and then they end up selling their position that they had, or maybe if they were in at the 1850 mark, that they start to capitalize on the fact that we're about $5 up from that right now. Well, 450, I guess, would be a little bit more accurate. There you go. Good morning, Franken. Good morning, Louis or Luis. Good morning, Darren. Let me see. What do you think of Romeo Power? That's a popular one, huh? I think that I've been asked about Romeo Power a couple of times. The nice thing is, and I don't forget the ticker for it. Let's see where we're sitting at right now. So it looks like yesterday we bottomed out, double bottom support at 836. I wonder how that looks on the daily chart. All right, so zoom in a little bit because it looks like we have. All right, so that low candle right there 842, and then this one over here, 836. So all right, so we're sitting about even. So we're sitting at about support, but we have room if this thing does continue this sort of sell-off that we see going on right here. We have room down to over here, more of an area of support from about $7, just under $7 per share, down to that low of 633. But if you take a look, we did cross over this 50 period SMA that I have here. I see a line that I drew on, and I'll talk about that line in a moment. But this 50 period, with where it closed yesterday, what we could be seeing is a little bit of support coming in off that moving average. And this could be an area of resist for us up here, coming off the 200. This is the 200 EMA that we have right here. And we're looking at the daily chart. So this line that I drew in that you see right here across those tops, breaking out above that line could be a sign of a reversal in the share price. If we do get support here, then that would give us a higher low based off of what we had there. But we want to make sure that these highs, if it's going to be a true reversal, we want to see that we're breaking this previous high at about 1079 with my my cursor over that. So the high was 1074. So we want to break over that peak, and then it looks like we could find a little bit more right around that 200 EMA, which is at 1168. So we'll see if that does turn around. Analyst estimates on this, the average, not so bad. The high estimate, very bullish on that one, all the way up to $18 per share. So from where it closed yesterday, that'd be over 2xing. And so $3 from that, so like 30%, maybe, yeah, 30, 35-ish, 33-ish% upside from where we're sitting at right now. We are up above that low analyst estimate, so it'd be nice to see the timing on that. I wonder, I don't have a TipRanks subscription yet. It is something that I'm considering, but let's see what TipRanks has to say about it. We might at least be able to see the timing of the forecast so we can see where we're at in that timeline. All right, so they're saying right now, 957, 11.02, highest price target 15. There you go. And this says that it's based off 3 analysts offering stock ratings from Empower in the past 3 months. So this is within the last 3 months. So you could see that we would have well, it does tell us they're an 11% upside from where it currently sits at right now. Lowest price target 670. That might explain also a little bit of what we see when we look at the chart. Good morning, Angelito. All right, let's see. Torchlight had a heck of a day yesterday. They're well up above their analyst estimates that we have. So they rocked it up to $6.15 yesterday before closing at 507, and that is a huge volume spike that we have right there. Let's see how that compares to the rest of the time. That looks like, so 276 million there, 256 million. What was this one? 262 million. So right in between the other two, when it had its previous, it looks like all-time high price of 483. Yeah, I think I can't zoom out anymore. So I think that we're looking at all the data that we have here. So it did end up breaking this previous high. That's awesome. Yeah. There you go. So Torchlight Energy offers special dividend. Stock surges 70%. What I didn't see is if that special dividend, I think it might be a retroactive one that stockholders or shareholders of a certain day for the stock would be eligible to receive that special dividend. I also didn't see mention of how much that was. So I don't know if you guys saw that for Torchlight or not. You're welcome to let me know. Lordstown looks like it's taken a decent bounce from where it was. And sometimes when you have stocks fall hard like it did, you get that bounce where you can catch a few percent off that bounce. The alternative is that it is a falling knife, and when you try to catch it, you just end up bleeding. You know, that's not always in our best interest. But it is nice to see this sort of support that we have coming in right around that $9 mark. So for anybody who's interested in Lordstown, who believes that they can overcome their cash difficulties, that could be a good thing for us to see that support in there. At least gives us a little bit more what to expect. It's also good that it did close up above this 50 period simple moving average that we have. We're sort of dancing around it, so I don't know that it acts as the best line of support for us. I mean, we just, from this death cross that we had right over here, we did trail downward. And now that these are narrowing as they come closer together, we really want to see them turn positive. Right now, if you're going to trade this, you'd be trading against the trend, which currently at this point in time is still bearish. So that would be something to keep in mind as you take a look at RIDE. Now, if it's a fundamental play that you believe that they're going to overcome the cash difficulties and that they're really going to be able to put out large numbers for their vehicles and take hold of some of the EV market share, you know, if that's your belief, then there could be a decent amount of strength coming from where we're at right now. Analyst estimates, we have 7 on this one. We still have a price target of $20, which would be almost 2x upside from where it's at right now. But that looks, yeah, out of 7, it's only one person. I'm guessing the strong buy is that $20. That's not necessarily the case, but when you see ratings like this one, if you're looking for a short-term play and taking a long position on it, meaning that you would want it to go up in stock price, going against the trend is your friend. So going against the trend, try and take a long position for like a swing trade or on something like this, or maybe even if it's an intraday trade, you're kind of betting against yourself. But like I said, it's different if it's a fundamental play. Go EV. All right, Canoe, what do we got? All right, so this one is actually sort of obeying this this top line that we have here, the 200 EMA. Also decent volume yesterday. It just tagged the 200-day EMA, and then it settled a little bit from there. I'm going to go back out on their chart. Okay, 24.90, and what are we hitting here? All right, so these lows right here that we have, they match up with this high that we have over here. It's sort of like a support resistance area that we have, and it also coincides with the 200-day. Now, when we look at the moving averages here, it is still a negative slope on the 200-day, and that does follow a big sell-off. However, when you look at the 50-period simple moving average, it's starting to turn around. And if this flattens out and goes positive, and then we see that cross coming with the 50-period simple moving average, it can move into a golden cross, which would be a very bullish sign that we would have for Go EV. Analyst estimates. All right. Still a little bit pricey according to the analyst estimates that we have here. 3 analysts, and we made a traffic light, green, yellow, red, that we have here with those values. We're just about to hit market open here. I can come back to Go EV. There you go. General Motors ramps up EV investments. All right, we'll have to check out what TipRanks has to say there. It looks like the market's open. Let's move over to Arrival and see what's going on. All right, well, gap up as expected. Let's go intraday. All right, green candling at the open here. It looks like we have a bit of line of support during the low volume off peak hour. So this wouldn't necessarily, this would be weak support that we have right here at about $22 per share. And we might get a drop right at the open here as people take profits. There you go. So going down to the 5-minute chart, we can see a little bit more red candling coming down. We'll see if it comes down and tags this line right about here at about $22 per share. There we go. So that's the 5-minute chart. Let's go down even further to the 1 minute just to see the action that we have. There we go. All right. So there's a lot of that expected profit taking that we have in the 1 minute chart. We're actually moving over to the 2nd minute now. Still haven't found bottom for this. The 1 minute, to me, is a little bit too sensitive because I don't normally trade on those sort of time frames. If we look back over here, again, being low volume, this would be another weak area of support that we have right around that 21.19 level. We haven't quite made it down there. We also have the 2 moving averages here that we'll see if they act as any support of any sort of support or resistance for us. There we are. Already turning back around on us. How's that volume looking? So we already have, just at the market open here, we have almost 2.5 million shares traded. All right, we'll come back to that. I do want to take another look at AMC, and we'll see how that's shaping up. There we go. All right, a drop on AMC as well. So a lot of downward pressure taking place. And if we take a look at what we have on major indices here, that might tell us a little bit more too. So the futures on these, I believe, were all negative, and it looks like S&P is about even here. I'll expand that so we can see it a little bit better. There we go. S&P is even. Dow is down about 0.15%, and NASDAQ's up almost 0.2%. So we can see those different highlights as we click through those. Oxygen looks like it's still hanging in there. FUV, Arcimoto. Oop, I clicked on the news, so now the news is going to load 12 consumer. Okay. We'll clear that. Actually, green candling, and if you check out the RSI on Arcimoto, this one actually moved up into overbought territory. That might pull back on us a little bit. We'll have to see what the reason is for the move on that one. The EV space was not looking too pretty in the early hours of them. Actually, nothing was looking too pretty high growth wise in the early market, in the pre-market hours this morning as I was looking through a lot of the high growth plays because of the inflation news for the FOMC meeting and kind of waiting for what Jerome Powell is going to have to say about the bond buybacks and the interest rates increasing, inflation not being transitory. All of those things are going to weigh on the market for some of these plays that are really green for right now. There, I want to zoom in on that so we can see better. Okay, and we're looking at the 5-minute chart. But yeah, these high growth plays are going to suffer when inflation happens because it sort of washes out the future earnings that were promised to us, that they're not really worth as much because they don't trade as well compared to the strength of the dollar decreasing through that inflation. You know, those are concerns for these companies that aren't yet profitable versus companies that already are making profits in the more stable companies that you have. Well, hello, Simon. Good afternoon. There you go. I keep meaning to look up the time difference for Europe, and I keep forgetting. I think when I went to Ireland, I think by the time we landed at Gatwick Airport, it was about a 5-hour time difference from where I'm currently at. That was 5 hours later in the day. And for Spain, when I was in Barcelona a few summers ago, I think that it was either 5 or 6 hours. I think maybe it was a 6th hour because I think we were a little bit farther east. Geography is not my strong point, although I am familiar with some locations. All right, so big green candle. This one, we want to watch as this one forms up on the 5-minute chart for Arcimoto. A narrow range candle that wouldn't penetrate too deeply if it turns out red candling and coming back down this way. It could come down and tag the 200 EMA before going back up. If it does over penetrate and we get a large body red candle coming down this way, this could turn instead to a double top resist. So we want to watch and see how that plays out. And something that would really impact how it's going to play would be the overall market bias, which NASDAQ off to a good early start. Dow Jones, looking at that drop right there, that could rebound on us. This could come down and correct. S&P is going the same way that the Dow is. And that's a theme that we've seen recently with the market, that the S&P and Dow tend to typically agree with each other a little bit more than what the NASDAQ does with those two. All right. So if this doesn't come down too far, we could see another, after it rests for a little bit, we could see another rip upward on Arcimoto's price. So for anybody interested in those short-term sort of plays. Arcimoto with the small vehicles, I live in a land of big trucks with big tires and, 7-passenger SUVs. And so when I think of Arcimoto's product being something that would be small and agile and efficient, especially for those daily like grocery store trips and everything, and just the small back and forth commutes to work, rather than, think about somebody riding just one person in a 7-passenger SUV, taking it 30 miles to work and then 30 miles back home from work, and otherwise the vehicle being completely empty. And that's sort of the space that Arcimoto hopes to intervene on, is having an affordable, economical vehicle that allows people to make these smaller commutes, these day-to-day commutes, where all that extra space isn't being wasted. So that's one of the aims that they have. It's not a company that I'm hugely well read up on, but I definitely can get behind the business that they have, and I would absolutely love to see more people in my area buy into that idea that, you know, these efficient vehicles make a lot of sense. There we go. Got a little bit of a drop there. Let's go to the 1 minute chart and see what's happening. 1435 in Birmingham. What would that be? Yeah, so that's 5 hours from now. Thank you very much, Darren. All right, so I went down to the 1 minute, and you can see that little bit of a gap up that we had. Small resist right there, and the fact that we're trading straight across for the past few minutes. This could come back down on us, and we'll see if it ends up holding right here at this bottom of 1324. It could just be resting in the meantime. What else we got moving? Orphazyme. This one's been moving. There's a double top resist if I've ever seen one. And we're looking at the 1 minute chart. So on the 5 minute, well, the fact that this is coming back down so much, this is probably going to settle and probably consolidate sideways for us, at least in the near future during the day here. I don't know that we're going to come back through and touch that same area there unless the market itself really turns around. But that's looking at the 1 minute level. Go to the 5 minute and see what we see. 5 minute kind of hides it, a large body green bar. So I mean, it is possible we could see that support hold right across the bottom there at about $10.54, and you know, it could turn back around on us. Again, I think the market is really going to depend on what happens there. Let's look at the news, see if any big catalysts. Major investor Sunstone cut stake. All right, well, seeing somebody cutting their position as a major investor after retail investor-driven rally. So that we had some selling pressure go on there. Meme stock. The hedge funds love it. Major shareholder announcement. All right. So we do have a little bit of news that goes along with that. Anavex Life. There we go. It looks like we have some decent momentum still holding on there. Let's look at the 1 minute and see what happened. All right, so this came back, it retraced a little bit more than I would like to see, but the fact that this bottom held here, this could be taking a breather. A lot of penetration with this green candle happening right here. So this could be a sign of a reversal before it ends up moving up higher, trying to break that top that we had there at 1915. So if you're going to handle this sort of like a day trade, or if I was going to, because I can only speak for myself, not a financial advisor, but I would set my stop for this somewhere around like $18.66. I don't want to go, I guess I could give it some room, go a little bit below it, you know, to like 1860 or maybe 1857. It would depend on the upside that I put on it. So from where it's at now, maybe going a little bit above that, but from there, if we went from that line, that's like only 21 cents up. So that means I would only be able to go like 10 cents down from where I would be buying in at. So that would take me down to 85. So if I were to put my buying price here at 1894 and make it all the way down here to, we'll call it 1864. So like 30 cents, 35 cents down, that means I have to go 60 to 70 cents up before I get my 2-to-1 risk to reward. And so that would be tough after a run that we see like that. I would have to look at the daily chart to see, or just higher time frames in general, just to see where that would put us. Yeah, we're sort of in a no man's land territory for this one. On the daily chart anyway, there's not a lot to go on once we're over here. We had this big red candle that we have here, you know, followed by just a lot of settling and sideways movement after that, sort of a consolidation. And then finally, another volume spike that we have here back on the 14th. So that was Monday. And then this candle right here, completely within the body of this green candle. This could turn into some sort of wedge for us. I don't know though. It's a really an interesting stock. The volume's already tapering off on it. However, I think a lower time frame, given the dearth of information that we have on this one, I think would really do us well. Right there, we can go off that double tops in 1935, and that's kind of serving us well for what we see today on this green candle. which has a high of 19.15. If you guys want to see any stocks, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll go through and I'll pick out different ones that I see. Roblox had a quick climb up to over $100 per share, and their price target, I think their high price target is, yeah, there you go, 103, and it actually went up to 103. And I believe I said that in my Discord that that's going to come back down because that's a 12-month price target, and it was just recently already trading up that high. We have a significant amount of sell side pressure looking at the level 2, and our buy support, there we go, look at that jump. Back at about $80 per share, it looks like is where we're finally finding some support. So this could stay around $80 per share today. Maybe we're seeing a low right now with about 9 to 10% down. There we go. And I don't know that we had any really specific news that's driving this. I think that what we had was general market strength and Roblox riding that strength, and you can see the IPO that they had back there. And there's where the market itself really started turning around somewhere around the middle of May. And then we peak at 103.87, and now we're coming back down and we're settling. And this big drop that we have right here, let's see if there's any news that's acting as a catalyst for that. Skills, yes. We'll take a look at skills. That's a good one to mention in when we mention Roblox. All right. Now, there you go. Daily active user decline from April. So Roblox is profitable. They were profitable even before they IPO'd. So that was something that gave a lot of strength to Roblox, and advertising it as a platform that has a really sticky user base that they tend to stay around, and working on expanding that and building that, and the developers also being compensated for the people playing the different games that are within Roblox. Those are things that that attributed to the strength of it, but some people were questioning whether or not this was something that we saw as a sign of the pandemic, that with that growing strength, and would it fade as we get more into recovery. And so now, when we cast those sort of doubts, when we have something that caused it to decline, you can see that come down, and look at it come down and just nicely tag that that blue line that we have right there, that low candle at 79.88, just touching the 50-day simple moving average that we have here at 79.69. So we came really close to that. That could be an area of support for us, and we could bounce back up off of that going upward. So from a short-term perspective, this stock being bullish by the 200 EMA that we have here and the 50 SMA that we have here, both having a positive slope and not narrowing towards each other yet. This could continue to go on with its bullish momentum. And that could act as support for us. So if we want to look across the top of these candles here, 77, 76. So from where we're at right now, like a 4% downside or so, maybe looking at a place where you could set your stop, but then you'd be looking for an 8% upside in order to compensate for that, which, so 8 and 80. So like you'd have to go up like $6 or $7 in price from where it's currently trading in order to hit that 2-to-1 risk to reward on a swing trade, for example, for Roblox. All right, let's bring up skills. Skills has a fairly awesome business model. They are not yet profitable, so they joined via SPAC, and they're a growth company. And there were, I think, 2 separate short reports that came out that just, along with the growth sell-off and the SPAC attack that was happening and the short reports, pushed this all the way down to $12.40. And so you can see that double bottom support that we have there. And then again over here, we have a little bit more support coming around the $13 mark. And when we take a look here, when strength started coming back to the market again, mid-May is when stuff started to buy back. And then we have a little bit of a flag formation, a little bit more strength. And then we turn things around just before we hit that $25 mark. Trading up above the 200 EMA that we have, excellent. Started slightly positive slope, sort of going flat, and we want to see this 50-period simple moving average starting to curve upward, and we want to see both of them take on a positive slope. We are trading down below the 200 EMA, so instead of acting as support, that can act as resistance for us. we can look at the 50 period here as an area of support, 1731. Let's look intraday to see what's going on. There we go. All right, so look at that. We have these nice little shelves going on between the trading day and the after hours when we look at skills. So there we go. And right now, actually, where we were at for the opening bell, we were right across here, right around that $18.50 mark. What are we at the 30-minute chart? All right, let's drill down to see more what's happening today. There we go. So on the 5-minute chart, there we have a little bit of support right around that 1820-ish to like 1823. So we could be climbing back up from there. Look at that, how these are sort of obeying that 50 period simple moving average. Breaking through that would be excellent. That give us room up to about 1897 according to the moving averages that we have here. And if we look across, right about here, we have a bunch of tops right around $19. So we have like from 1897, like 1895 up to $19, we would call it, up from where it currently sits. If we can break through this line, it looks like we're going through it just a little bit, but that could easily turn into a peekaboo where it just pops up above and all you get is the wick. We want to see more of the body of the candle penetrate into that area by the time that it moves over in order to, there we go, like that. But this hasn't closed yet. Right now, we still have like 1.5 minutes before this closes and moves on to the next candle. And then we still have this area up here that would act as resistance for us. And as long as we close up above here, this could turn into support for us. So long-term on skills, they're going to be highly sensitive to what happens with the games that are on their platform. So if the NFL contract happens to work out very well for them, and the games, they have several that go viral and just draw millions of people to them, and people are betting on them and spending their money to play, not doing the free to play because that doesn't help them out at all. Look at that, ripping right back down to that level. Shortly before, we have like 20 seconds until we move over to the next one. We'll see where that closes. But anyway, so with the NFL deal, it is only one contract. We don't know all the terms of that contract, but hopefully it does draw a lot of players over to Skills platform and the games, and that they end up catching off a lot of top line from that and helping to support their bottom line moving towards profitability. There you go, we closed below it. So depending on what happens with the games, they need games to catch on, and that's where the sensitivity comes on. When those games lose popularity and they don't have another one to take its place, then we're going to see a lot of price action take place in their share price because they're going to lose like monthly active users, for example, and those that actually pay money to be active users are the ones that we're really looking for as well. So they are making improvements to their platform, and I hope that those improvements are fast enough. I really like that it's a triple win. So it's a win for the Skills themselves, the company, when people pay, because they're able to capture some of that income that they get from the transaction between the two players, and regardless of who wins and who loses, the winner catches some of that money as well. I forget what the percentages are. I have to go back and look, but those percentages that Skills captures over time are set to increase. So they should be taking a little bit more and more of that transaction fee that happens between both players. All right. So we still haven't returned. We still haven't broken resistance either. We still keep on failing. Let's see where we keep failing. So for Skills in the future, it's going to be a really bumpy ride. However, if the NFL thing works out, we're going to see, in my opinion, I think we're going to see a lot of other companies follow suit where they get a lot of brand recognition, drawing them into these games and playing and betting. It'd be really cool to watch that take place. I don't know if MLB has the same influence, Major League Baseball has the same influence. Soccer being a pretty well for us it's soccer, so football or wherever you call it in the country that you're from. but non-American football, or the real football, as some people might call it. You know, if they follow suit, I could see soccer as being one of those big areas that would be more of an international win for skills on their platform. So the esports with the online betting that we would have, or I'm sorry, the skills games that we would have through skills themselves, it's good, pretty big total addressable market and a pretty big market opportunity for them. It's a matter of market penetration and also having games that just go absolutely nuts and absolutely viral on their platform. And I think that they're going to have to continue to innovate over time, and that R&D might steal away from their bottom line, especially in the short term. There you go. Yeah, check out those analyst estimates. So we have 7 different analysts on this, up to 34, average 25. So from where we're sitting at right now, $7 up from there. I mean, that's what, 35% or so, moving up from that price. Let's see, maybe more than that, 40%. We're closing in on 50. So 40 to 45% upside from where its current price is, up to the average analyst estimate. And that downside that we would be facing over at least the 12 months, that's only about $4 down from where it currently sits. So like 20%-ish downside versus over 40%. So there's your 2 to 1. If that's something that you're looking for, risk to reward based off the analyst estimates that we have. And today being a red day like it is, it might not be. Let's see. I got to go back to the daily chart here. Well, it's down 1.36, and it's also down from where it did peak at over here. So even if we go off that previous high, or if we just go off what we have for the 200 EMA, so you can make 50 cents on every stock, all the way up to almost that $25 mark, $7. We don't know if we'll see that ride or how soon we'll see that ride. We do want to make it back up over that 200 EMA. What else we got here? BNGO long term. They're actually up a little bit today. All right, so it's nice to see right through here, $7.34 is about where we're finding support. The 200 EMA, we are still positive on that one. That could be due to the that meteoric rise that it had. And it's also nice to see the 50-period simple moving average also start to flatten out for us. So watching that strength continue is going to be huge for BNGO. Talking about them long-term, R&D is where it's going to be at. And also the PR that they put out is also going to be just enormously important, because they need to keep the momentum going to keep their shareholders happy, we'll say it that way. But getting out more research and getting into more institutions, more market penetration, and also what I was saying about R&D is that if they can get down to identifying structural variants for single nucleotides, that's where we're going to see game-changing technology take place for BNGO. Where they sit right now, it is game-changing, but not on the same level as the single nucleotide would be. And the doctor in my name is a title only at this point in time. I hope to have my doctorate by May of 2022, so that's next year. But it's an academic doctorate. It's not a medical doctorate. So just when I talk about this stuff, it's just from the things that I've read on BNGO and what it would take in order for them to really see a lot of price action in the upward direction. So the more we find more use cases and the more we find more market adoption, and they did move to a subscription model with or more of a service model, I should call it, rather than trying to just sell their scanners themselves as that key technology. Instead, they sell the reagents that it takes in order to run them and in order to do the identification for the structural variants. And more information, the genomic space overall just keeps on coming out. And I think it's going to be very exciting over time. There's some people who say that it's still a little bit early for that. So let's look at the analyst estimates right now for this one. And we're trading below all three that we have: the low, the average, and the high. And there are 3 analyst estimates. And we have everybody from a buy to 2 strong buys when we're in that. So even if we go off those for a 12-month price target, we have over 50% upside to the average analyst estimate. And we have like a like a 33% upside up to the low analyst estimate. We're almost 2xing to the high estimate. So there's your range there. So from 33% up to 100% return on your money over the next 12 months, according to the analyst estimates. We're seeing a lot of this profit taking, a lot of this selling pressure happen recently with the growth plays. We have a lot of companies that are going to follow that same sort of sell-off, this trail-off that we have. We want to see the support hold that we're currently at. That goes all the way back to over here, like 720. Where's the high? There we go. Maybe. Got it, 724. And then the low over here, 736. So 724 to 736 sort of being as like an area of support for us, looking at that. And in the short term, looking at resistance here, 919 up to like 990-ish or so. Really, as long as that support holds, if we get some sideways trading, we did have a lot of upward momentum recently, and we broke the previous high that we had. And we don't want to return to go back down below this low. I think that would take significant selling pressure. And if you look again, that's middle of May, which is about at the peak of the selling pressure before things turned around. And we're currently sitting comfortably in between those. So let this take time, let it grow slowly. And I think that we could see good things going forward with BNGO. All right, what do we got here? Angelito says, Givo. There we go. Well, this chart, it's almost like I didn't even switch from BNGO. It's almost like they're following each other. The moving averages look the same. And then when we look at the recent price action, it looks the same. As a matter of fact, there's May 13th, same bottom. So they're sort of tracking each other. So I would say we're going to find a lot of other stocks in this space, in the high growth space, that are going to have very similar looking charts. And what that tells us is that this is just background buying. So institutional buying are large money that's causing these fluctuations that we have up and down, and not so much trading off the fundamentals of the companies. And we're probably even lacking company specific news. And it looks like we're holding steady like 761 when we look at GIVO here as support, and that's touching that top over there, touching the bottom here, and then it's also these bottoms that we have here. I think we're at a fairly strong area of support for this one. So even in the short term, this would be something that maybe might act as a swing trade. And with a swing trade, of course, you want to set a sell stop that would keep you from losing too much money. If we get, let's say that Jerome Powell comes out and he says, oh my gosh, inflation's worse than we expected, or that the recovery is much more rapid than we expected, and we're going to tighten our financial policies sooner, and that would take these growth plays and just it would squish them. So we don't want to see that kind of squishing happen. We do need to trade carefully. Ooh, analysis of Disney. Love Disney. But we don't want to see too much downward pressure here, because we can break that support that we're currently seeing right around like the 760, 770 mark. But it is possible to make a swing trade off of this. The fact that we are above the 200 EMA, we really want to see the 50-period simple moving average turn around. And if this momentum can continue, it would be a good thing. It looks like we have fairly hard resistance right around like the $10, like just above $10, 1020, 1030 marker. So we have a significant amount of, actually, well, I guess we have to see how far we can fall. It's down to 572. So we would be going about $1.50 down for about 250 up. So we're looking at something that's close to 2 to 1 between risk and reward. So it might be something, in my opinion. And again, absolutely none of this is financial advice, as always. But just looking at this, my take on this is that support could hold. And if it did break to the downside, then we would be losing about $2 per share on that, which is about 25% of its value. So that's pretty huge. So there is a lot of risk involved in that. And then to the upside, let me see what that took us to. No, that's more 1 to 1. I apologize. So yeah, this would be one that I think I'll wait for further confirmation. Let's look intraday. All right, we still have a lot of sell pressure coming in, sort of barcoding right now. Looks like we can't quite decide on what exactly is going to happen today. I just want to look at the markets real quick, see how they're performing. NASDAQ, only one green, and then S&P and Dow Jones settling a little bit. Of course, we could always look at the Russell 2K. That would be something that might be a little bit more telling of what we're seeing for stocks like this one, like the small cap stocks. All right, what else did we have here? What do you think about AGTC? All right, so let me go out to the daily chart here. I also want to look at the company profile to see what they do. Applied Genetics Technology Corporation, clinical stage biotech company. Okay, biotech, healthcare, pharmaceuticals. So this could be, yeah, I was gonna say it could be pretty violent for us as far as the volatility of it goes. All right, so as high as 1042. That high 967. So we have a downward slope right now besides this big volume spike that we have here. And this could be a couple of things. This could be like, if it's biopharm, it could be like FDA news, that they would have some sort of approval, or that they could have really good news about the approval process, and then it could fade off over time throughout these, ooh, a little bit too far. There we go. Throughout these big selling pressure times. Let's also look at the timing here. Okay, so this is going into mid-February. So there's 216 and then 217. So right around the time that we switched around from having a big run up to a big sell off. And so if we look at the low for this one, I wonder if it's around that May 13th time. There it is, exactly, May 13th. So there's more of that selling. It hasn't recovered the way that we've seen some of the other stocks recover, but it is in between our moving averages right now. And you can see where this one turned around is almost exactly on the 200 period EMA. And it's, even after all this time, it's still strange to me to look at this and think that these moving averages could work so well as indicators for support and resist. But because other technical traders and algo traders would happen to use information like this to trade, then we tend to get areas of support and resistance happening from these moving averages. We're still in bullish territory according to the RSI. The MACD is going to be tough because this is sort of a consolidation type period, and so that kind of washes out a little bit of our MACD usefulness here when we look at this one. Let's take a look intraday to see what's going on. All right. So this could be good depending on where you stand. So if AGTC is a fundamental play for you, I don't know anything about the company, but if it's a fundamental play for you, they're trading sideways and they're sort of settling. And what that does, it allows you to know, it sort of helps set the price for the company, that it's willing to hold that, and it gives us a lot of confirmation over the support areas that we have, which allows us to, we could dollar cost average over time, and it could also help us tell us about support, where if we're taking long positions on this, that it tells us where we expect that bottom to be. So if it does move up quickly, or if it does happen to drop because of the way the market's acting, that would tell us about where we should return to, given that no company specific news came out and really changed it, or that there's macro events that would really affect the performance of this company. One moment, and then I'll look at the analyst estimates on it. All right, so this is the 5-minute chart that we're looking at here. What are our volumes like? 38,000 all the way down to, this looks like the lowest one, but besides the newest one, 5,000. So sort of a low volume stock. And while the volume's out of it, you could see that consolidation, and we could move into eventually like an accumulation phase. But being a biopharma stock, this is going to be heavily reliant on catalysts, on company-specific news, and they can really have astronomical impacts upward or downward on the stock price that we see. But like I said, if we see it trading sideways for a time, it can at least, and we have a little bit of upward movement here, but it can still somewhat, if we put a line right about through here, like the 415-ish price, we might be able to return to that over time with that in the face of, we'll call it a lack of information about the company specifics, that we could settle back down to, like, I don't know, 430. What's this one down here? Down to like 390-ish. So yeah, so at like 415 or so, it could settle. I don't know if there's specific news that we're waiting on. Options market. Let's go to analyst estimates. According to the analyst estimates, and with these analyst estimates, sometimes they'll make assumptions of, like, if it's a drug that they have or a treatment that they have, it's like, if it gets approval, this is what the company could be worth. So when you see that it could go up to like $35 per share, I mean, that looks like a very big bullish case. That's over 7x where we're at right now, and that would be astounding. And I really hope that for people who invest in this company long term, I hope you see that, because that would just be incredible. I love hearing the victories of people who happen to, you know, really be onto something, and they have a feeling about the company, and they know what the company is going to be worth, and it ends up, you know, coming to fruition or even exceeding expectations. Those are all awesome things. Let me see. Yeah, Simon, Wolfpack definitely had its way with skills earlier on. All right. I'm reading through the comments here, making sure I don't miss anybody. So GNOG, again, trading well below the analyst estimates that we have here, up to 2x on the high side, and on the low side of this, we have like a 50% upside over the next 12 months. And we have 2 strong buys and 1 buy from that. And this is going to be very dependent on what we have for the gambling market overall. So this one, because it is a smaller company, they're going to sort of move with the rest of the ships. So it looks like I have a line drawn on this one too, that you can see this sort of theme that we have across the tops, that constant slope that we have. And the fact that we're crossing through that right now, that we're sort of breaking that pattern, could be an indicator to us that it could turn around. And we see that same sell-off that we saw with so many others. So it is possible that this isn't specific to GNOG, that this is just a general thing that's happening in the markets starting on the 9th of June and then up to today. And we'll see that we have decent support at these levels. So, I mean, I have my position already as far as a long-term hold. 1287 down to, I mean, as far as a swing trade goes, like buying this and then kind of waiting for this to end, even if we look down to the lowest it ever made it to in recent history, because this was a SPAC, so it did have some lower prices before the announcement. But since the announcement of the SPAC merger with Golden Nugget Online Gaming, it hasn't hit below that $10.10. So when we get down near these lows, so $12.95, so like we'll call it $13 down to $12.35, so 60 cents down. Seeing this go from its current price up like $1.20, I mean, that's a 2-to-1 risk to reward. I might have myself talked into a swing trade on that one. I'm gonna have to really consider that. If I do it as a swing trade, because it depends on how much I'm risking. It's different than having it in a long-term hold portfolio, because in a long-term hold portfolio, I don't really set the sell stops in order to you know, get tagged out. Think about the recent sell-off that we've had. I've done that a couple times. For some times that I wanted to make sure I was protecting some of the profits that were already there and done some profit taking. But for a swing trade, I'll put more money on it. But let's say that I put like, I don't know, 5,000 down for a swing trade on this one, and then it happened to lose $1 out of that. Well, what did I say? 60 cents. Let me see. Now I'm forgetting myself again. 67. Let's say that that I had my sell stop like 60 cents down or something like that. Well, then that'd be $300 that I'm losing with that trade by or dropping that much. I'm sorry. I'm thinking percentages here. We'll just go with 100 shares just because it's easier to calculate. So 100 shares, 60 cents down. on those 100 shares would be a $60 loss. So that would actually be pretty significant. Or no, I'm sorry, pretty insignificant. It'd be a $120 gain is what I'd be looking for. I'm sorry, I missed my breakfast this morning, and it's really throwing me off. And my coffee is long since gone. All right. So anyway, yes, to make a swing trade out of the 60 cents down for $1.20 up would be what I'd be looking at. And if it was 100 shares, I'd be losing $60 at a risk for the $1,300, $1,400 that'd be putting out there. So not too bad. I certainly wouldn't be risking the boat on this. For 120, it would give me some lunch money. $120 a day off of swing trades. You know, that's livable for a lot of people. It certainly wouldn't be too bad. And DraftKings is back out to check that out. All right, let's take a look at Disney. All right, the thing is about Disney, we are waiting for the, I think Disneyland might be fully reopening this month, or does fully reopen this month. Maybe even today's the day. The 6/15 seemed to, or that would be yesterday. 6/15 seemed to be that sort of date. We're getting a line of resistance around 175, and we have bullish on the long term here for the 200 EMA. We're down off the peaks that we've had, and some of that does look like it goes along with the sell-off. So where's that? This actually doesn't go. Where's May 13th at? All right, so its lowest point wasn't from that. It did have, I think its outlook for Disney Plus membership was a little bit slower than they expected, if I'm remembering correctly. Disney Plus is kind of awesome, and I think with the new wave of Marvel movies coming out, we could see a kind of a boost coming through that. I'm a Marvel fan, and having Disney Plus and watching like WandaVision. I still have yet to watch Loki, so please don't spoil anything there for me. Even if you're mad at me, please don't. I promise I didn't try to make you mad. Picture on dividend portfolios, solid. Yeah. The dividend plays have the value companies, the ones that I bought back in February the 1st. They are looking very solid. But anyway, yeah, back to Disney here. So where's our top sitting at? 182. What are our analyst estimates? So we're above the low analyst estimate pretty significantly, about 20% above it. And then it looks like we're about 10 to 15% off the average analyst estimate up to 230. If we get strong interest as the movies start to roll out again, and it really starts to draw in, and honestly, their miniseries I think are hugely popular that they have for Disney Plus. As they continue to add content and really fill that out and have depth to their offerings, Disney Plus is going to continue to dominate, in my opinion. I don't know that I see them the same as Netflix, because Netflix has a little bit more variety to it, and that's one thing that I think is lacking from Disney Plus. Park reopening, I think there's going to be huge pent-up demand. As a matter of fact, my family is one of those families that we actually scheduled 2 Disney vacations. One was for April in 2020, and this was well before anything that was known about the pandemic. We were all hyped. We had our plane tickets. We were just about to pull the trigger on buying the park tickets themselves, and then we got the news about the pandemic, and then travel restrictions, and well, we canceled it because we didn't know what was going on. We lost some of our airline money. We ended up rescheduling for October, thinking that it would pass, and then we ended up canceling again, and then losing over half of that airline money and never making it there. So my family's one of those families waiting to get there, and I don't think that we're alone in that. I think there's a lot of other families that are still chomping at the bit to get out to Disney, and I think we're going to start pumping out strong numbers, and I think it could carry us to these higher price targets that we have here. All right, what else we got? I want to take a quick look at DraftKings. All right, so we're getting close to that $50 mark. Look at that. So DraftKings has had quite a ride up, popping up over $70 per share, selling off with everything else. Let's check and see where this is at. There's May 13th, dropping down below $40 per share. And then we also had this day right here, big green candle, probably a lot of buying to get back in at these sort of prices. And you can see us dancing along the 200 period EMA, and it sort of acted as support. Gosh, I know yesterday was sort of a rough day for a lot of stocks, and this could be part of that. Let's see if there's any specific news. DraftKings joins most talked about stocks on Wall Street bets amid short seller allegations. Let me see what else we got. Underperforms Tuesday compared to competitors. There you go. Oh, there you go. DraftKings stock hurt by a short seller's report. Honestly, I wish that I would have seen this yesterday. I've been just a little bit distracted. I'm getting married on Saturday for anybody who doesn't follow my channel or hasn't followed my channel. And those last minute details that we have, there are so many things getting ready for the wedding, getting ready for family that's coming in. And some of these things I just haven't been able to watch as closely. But if I would have known that I just thought the DraftKings was down because everything else was down. I didn't realize that there was a short seller's report. I'm not worried about short sellers reports on DraftKings. I think that they have an economic moat that they're building around them, and they're just a hugely popular stock. In my opinion, they're one of the best ones that we can have for online gambling, for sports in general, and all the gamification that they put into their app. I just think that that they're incredible and that they're going to do really well. If you take a look at the analyst estimates on this, down to the low side, we can drop $7. So like from where it's at, that's like 15% downside versus $20 up from where it's at right now. So that's like 40% upside from where it's from its current price that it's trading at, like $49, $50 today. So my position for DraftKings, I'll have to double check this. I think it's around like a $48 or $49 cost basis. So I'm probably just about even from where we currently sit. I do think that we're going to come back over and that we're going to break this area of resistance that we have with the 200 period EMA, which right now is sitting flat, but I think some of that is macroeconomically impacted. And I think that it is going to turn around over the next 12 months, and we're going to see more strength come in. The NFL season this year, I want to see the numbers that come out of that. So that takes place, gets into swing at the, let me see, so September, so 2 months into to Q3 is when the NFL season is really going to kick off in full swing, and seeing what sort of numbers we get coming out of DraftKings for the NFL season, and running anything fantasy sports surrounding the NFL. We want to see how they capitalize and how they're positioned. If they can come out on top of that, I mean, this thing could go through the roof for us by the end of well, that would be Q4. I guess would be really where we see those numbers, but we would get an early indicator of that from the Q3 results for 2021. Ford is falling by the dip. All right. Hey, Taco, I don't know if I said hello to you, but it's good to see you. All right, let's check out Ford. Arrival's got a little V in the spark line here. I want to see what's going on with that in just a moment. Yeah, Ford has had quite a run up, but let me zoom out. Do you guys recognize this from the other charts that we looked at? This sort of slow sell-off that we have taken place. So I don't know that we see a lot of specifics. It seems like a lot of these companies that we go to, it looks like the buying rally that we were on. Where's the 13th at? There it is. So it looks like that buying rally that we were on from May 13th up to about here, it looks like June the 4th finally starts to taper off, maybe some profit taking, maybe a change in direction, if you will, starting to put downward pressure over on the market, figuring that some of the prices that we have started to get a little bit rich, starting to rotate into other areas. So depending on your position on things, you know, if this does happen to be just more rotation, you know, that'd be a matter of finding out where that's rotating to. Is it rotating to the banks, for instance, because we do expect strong inflation moving on to that 2 o'clock hour when Jerome Powell speaks today. I wonder, the markets, we'll see how they look right now. I wouldn't be surprised if the NASDAQ, when we get close to that 2 o'clock hour, just tanks. And then after he speaks and we find out what he has to say isn't so bad that it starts to recover. We'll see what that looks like as the day plays out. There we go. As far as Ford goes, looks like people are calling it like around a $15 stock. So we'll see if that support happens to hold. Depends on that pressure. This is the daily chart that we're looking at, by the way. And Ford has had fairly incredible run. It's actually one of the stocks I got, I don't know, 20 some shares or so given to me for free by WEBULL from the different referrals. So if you guys haven't signed up and you would like to, use my referral link if you want to help support this channel. It's the same as if you went there yourself and just signed up without using the referral, deposit your $100, you'd still get your free stocks. The difference is if you signed up using my referral link, then I would also get free stocks as well. And it would make absolutely no huge difference on your end. At least there wouldn't be any financial difference. Maybe you would have that good feeling that you helped somebody out for the day. Go back to Arrival. That's what we came for. All right, I'll go back to Arrival. Thank you, Jake. All right, so we had that ramp up for Arrival, and then unsurprisingly, when we look at this, we have that sell-off to open. This is the 30-minute chart. I'll go down to a smaller time frame soon. We could happen to get support coming in here, and it's not quite 50% retracement. Maybe some of this stuff was a little rich, but it's pre-market, so it's hard to go off of because it is low volume. What kind of volume do we have here? So almost 5 million traded in the first half hour of the market. And now we're moving on to that second half hour, and we're right at about 1 million shares. We're still in bullish territory as far as the RSI goes, and we did have a sell signal happen there. So something I pointed out in my video from earlier, right here, 10:30 yesterday, that was 11 o'clock, 12:30. We could see that sort of volume spike. I wonder if it will continue in the face of what we saw with Wall Street Bets, that we have people who are trying to consider their like short sellers trying to show that their short positions have been covered, even though they haven't really been covered, sort of with the back and forth with the option plays. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned in my video, I did link to the Wall Street Bets post in my video description that I put out at 9 a.m. today. And I also put a link to the Benzinga article as well. So if you're having trouble finding those, then go to my video that I put out at 9 o'clock about Arrival in a possible short squeeze that we would have there. Which, mind you, if there is a big short squeeze, and they would have a number of days to cover. So even if we don't see that take place today, that could be something that would happen over time. And there's still the likelihood, depending on what happens with the option side of things. If we really get a huge rapid change in the delta, which would be our gamma, we get that gamma squeeze, that could also be something that would highly impact the price to the upside that we would see with Arrival. Skills is turning green. All right. I'll get back to that in just a moment. I want to see what's looking like on a lower time frame. All right. So for Arrival, it looks like we bottomed out at 20.53. So yeah, so somewhere between $20 and $21, it looks like, is where we have that bottom. And then on the 5-minute chart, we have a double top resist right around 21.90. And so breaking over that is going to be important to us. Looking at the level 2, we have a lot of sell side pressure on this. People trying to capitalize to take their profits that we have, and then we have a price wall right around 21.90, which is exactly where we see that double top on that. The buy side pressure not as significant, so this could come back down. And really, we want to see the support hold. We don't want to see it drop back down too much in this early parts of this. So we'll continue to watch this over the next couple of days of trading, see how it shapes up over time. Let's take a look at skills and see what's going on. All right, so hey, we are on the positive side of things here. So on the 5-minute chart, we have the MACD throwing a buy signal. So right now we're in the midst of that. And when this top line that we have here, which is the MACD line, crosses this signal line that we have down here, which is like this bluish color, when that happens to cross back over, that could be a sell signal for us. The RSI itself hasn't hit the overbought territory. We could see this, well, look at that 200 EMA. We want to break that. We had the little candle just wick over top of that, but it could still act as resistance for us right around like that $19-ish mark. So we'll see how that candle happens to shape up for us. Let's go down to 1 minute. There we go. All right, we have an inverted hammer there. Back up. Yeah, we're hitting fairly decent resistance right around, that's up at $19. So yeah, we have like a 2-cent area of resistance right there, at least locally speaking, for skills when we look at this one. Let's go back to the daily chart. There we go. And like I said, this was something that we saw across a bunch of different charts, this most recent sell-off that we have. As long as we stay above these lows, I think that we're still in sort of a bullish period. And I think I mentioned about this this moving average that we have on the bottom here, turning back up towards the top moving average line that we have. We want those two things to cross, and that could be something that could also help confirm that we're in more of a bullish upturn for skills. Looks like torch has settled down. Sunrun finally getting some movement in the solar space. This is an area where, yeah, the price to sales and the price to earnings might be high, but I think that solar is going to be huge over time. I think it's going to gather momentum on us. This is one that even after the sell-off, where's May 13th on here? It's May 11th, May 13th. There we go. So right across the bottom here for Sunrun, $38. We haven't recovered like we did in like the EVs, for example. I think that there's still a fair amount of time for solar to mature, and I just think that getting the overhead costs down and increasing margins and being able to just make better profitability overall is going to be big for them. And I think that could come from the demand and the infrastructure plays with Biden as we move forward. And honestly, for Sunrun, we have 17 analysts covering it, and over 3/4 of them have buy ratings on that one. And then one person's a strong buy, or not one, I'm sorry, a little over almost 18% have a strong buy. And then about almost 6% are holds, and then no underperforms or sells. So it looks like Sunrun could has some fairly bullish expectations from where it currently sits. And we'll zoom out to look at more what that looks like over a longer time horizon. So we have a fair way to fall support-wise anyway on this one. It's about $10 down, so that's about 20% downside on that. And we haven't really hit. We might be getting close to sort of that breakout period on for the price action, where it's going to start turning around. I'm sorry, my computer lagged for a moment. That's got to be hard on your eyes. I'm sorry about that. There we go. But yeah, it looks like we're not quite following that. Let's delete that one and try again. All right, for some reason it doesn't want to draw that on there for me. Every time I go to it, it glitches out. But if you look across these tops that we have, you can sort of put a line on them. We might finally be breaking out of that just in this period here. So maybe solar could end up getting some love finally going forward. If you look at the RSI, we do have building momentum, and then it kind of lagged off there, but now it's starting to build again. So here we hit about that oversold, and then it kind of was in bearish territory for a while. And now it looks like it might be getting to a point where it could actually see a decent amount of action going there. Let's check out the news. Morgan Stanley maintains overweight on Sunrun. Price target to $91. Wow. Like $4 more, and that's 2xing from its current price. So there's a new 12-month price target. And that's a good explanation as to why we're seeing that amount of upside that we have. So that didn't even make it here yet. So I wonder what their previous price target was. Okay, so they went from 86 up to 91. So about a 5% increase in the 12-month price target for Sunrun. That's excellent. I'm going to have to read up about that. Maybe my video for the afternoon will have to be looking into the reasons why we have that. So 5 solar stock gurus are soaking. 5 solar stocks gurus are soaking up. I've talked about this a while ago. I'd have to look back on my channel for when it is. But basically, I said, hey, these solar stocks have sold off, and they have not recovered the way other stocks have. And there you go. Home solar stock is cheap. The stocks have soared by both. All right. So we could start to see attention going into solar plays. And I hope that during back at this time, because I think this is about the time that I talked about those solar stocks. I think if you search Dr. Stock Solar, you'll get the results coming up there. And I just show, even if we look at TAN, which is the ETF for solar. There it is. There we are. Pretty much same exact looking chart. And we actually have a little bit of flattening out of the 200 EMA, but look at this strength, the strength that's starting to come back into this on the RSI when we look at it. It'd be better if we didn't have this sort of consolidation, but we have, how much are we up today? Almost 3% up today, and we are bumping right up against sort of an area of resistance, so it's not too strong to say that we're breaking out of that right now. Actually, we're pretty well locked in. So if we break this resistance, that could be really good for us for the solar ETF moving forward. We were down at almost $68 per share, or just under $68 per share when this hit its lowest, and so it is up, I guess, fairly significantly from where it was at, like 20-ish% or so. From where it was down here till where it is up here. Let's see, 14 pounds. Yeah, about 20%. So we do want to see, if anything, this 50-period SMA that we have, we want to see that flatten out and turn back around, that it doesn't quite cross over what we have going on for the 200-period EMA. Dancing around that, we could see it maybe in an accumulation phase, and maybe that's where we're at right now before the real buying happens to start for that. Okay. Arrival still rocking about 9% up. There we go. So today's volume, we are on daily chart and just double checking here. Today's volume over yesterday's. Yesterday's 4.6 million shares traded. Today, without the trading day even being over, we're sitting at about 6 million shares, just over 6 million shares. Tesla stuck around $600. Yep, Tesla's having a stretch of bad news, and so when we get that sort of drama, people don't like it. It scares them away for a while, and then we start to get more and back to a streak of good news, and then in the broader opinion, oh my goodness, Tesla's a champion again. I think that Tesla's a champ as it is. The multiple that they trade at, based on their expectations going into the future, that's something that is really going to keep them up where they're at. I mean, any other company that would have had their multiple with the amount of recent sort of drama that came out surrounding them, they would have tanked, and they would have tanked hard. And not that they're not about 50% down off their all-time high of over $900, but 900 was astronomical already. 600 is still high. And so for them to stay up as high as they are, there's still a lot of support, and there's still a lot of fundamental value that's being priced into Tesla. There you go. So it looks like Arrival, I'm on the 30-minute chart here. It looks like it may have found bottom somewhere around the $21 mark. Let's go down to a lower time frame. So right now we're past the 1030 mark, and we don't have any signs of that strange volume in the shares that we saw earlier. Now, mind you, that one is late as like up to the 1230 hour, looking at that at the 30-minute chart. So that could still happen at any point in time. And when it does, it was like hundreds of thousands of shares, like for anywhere from like 600,000, like 800,000 shares all dropped into the market at once. So it looks like we're resisting right across like 2178-ish. So we want to break up through that, and we want to be mindful of, at least in the short term for this, depending on how you're looking at this. If you're looking at a short squeeze, these prices are nothing. They're meaningless. If this thing really does get short squeezed, that high price that we had of like $37, there we go. We could see that again, or depending on how much of a short squeeze it would be, we could see that getting dwarfed, getting eclipsed based off of what we would currently have. That's if we indeed do have a case of a short squeeze on our hands. And I guarantee you that people are watching Wall Street Bets, watching how it's playing, and they're putting as much downward pressure as they can. And the fact that this is still hanging out between $21 and $22, I think speaks volumes about the battle that would be taking place over a rival's price right now. I'm gonna look at ChargePoint. Hey, ChargePoint broke the $30 mark. Excellent. So that round number resist that we have of 30, that psychological resistance, we'll call it, we broke over it. And let me see how much, where were we at before? 30, 33. And then this peak over here at 30.85. So fairly significantly over the other ones. We'll see if it happens to keep on moving. This one does not have, it looks like it started the sell-off that other companies did, like when we looked at Ford, for example, and maybe Arcimoto also had that. Instead, this one turned around and kept its upward march going. Notice that the volume is tapering off, so some of the conviction in that upward movement could be starting to go away. We'll see the RSI looking gorgeous on that one. The MACD that we have down here almost throwing, getting close to throwing a sell signal for us for people who would be trading this as a momentum type play, but then it happened to move back apart again. It is possible that we see this continue even higher up to, I'm gonna have to zoom out more, but like $32. So we could see this go another, we'll call it about 8% from where it's at, 7 or 8% upside until we hit that next area of resistance. Let me zoom out. So I talk a lot about upside, talking about downside. So for ChargePoint, it all comes down to can they stay in the lead, having over 70% of the EVs in the United States. So can they stay in the lead? I believe that they can. The other part is, you know, what sort of margins are they putting out? And I don't believe they're profitable yet. So how long will it take them to become profitable? So those are all things that we need to look at. If we look at this from a technical perspective here, we had this cross here, which would be called a death cross, but it was short-lived. And then crossing here would be called a golden cross. And then we have that positive price action taking place over here as well. So if they can stay in the lead, we're in good shape. If they can increase their profit margins, we're in excellent shape. And seeing how they benefit from an infrastructure play, so Biden planning to increase the number of EV chargers in the United States dramatically, and ChargePoint being poised to be one of those players, that's something that's going to help the price, and it's going to help some of the bullish case for ChargePoint. Something that I wouldn't like to see happen. So I think of the contract with Workhorse, that it was highly anticipated that the USPS contract from the federal government will go to Workhorse, and it was the contract that they were waiting on. Okay, ChargePoint isn't waiting on the infrastructure plan, but it is going to benefit from it. Well, its stock price is going to benefit while we wait to hear details from that come out. I should say it that way. So Workhorse was really benefiting from the fact that they were like the prime suspect, or the one being most likely to get that contract. And then it went out to Oshkosh. And then I think that only a small percentage of the actual vehicles were going to be EVs anyway from the contract. And that made a lot of noise, but it also dropped Workhorse's price dramatically in the meantime. They're going to be the future of UPS. Yeah, I absolutely want to see those contracts roll in for Workhorse. I did reduce my position. I didn't sell out of it completely. Cost basis wise, I am in the green for Workhorse. And the reason for that, here, let me go to their chart. Should have brought some water up with me. So back when this hit $42 per share, I said, wow, that is way too rich for Workhorse right now. And I sold a significant portion of my position, and I did end up buying back in a couple different times with other smaller positions over time. I don't know if I got any of it when it was about $7 per share, but I mean, hindsight always makes me wish that I would have, and that's the trouble with hindsight. It does have a similar looking chart to what we're seeing with Ford and with Arcimoto and everything, that we had that run up, and now we're having that little bit of a sell off. But yeah, contracts are going to be huge for Workhorse. They get a lot of small contracts or a few big contracts to fill, and if they get good reports based on the good numbers that they put out there, and if they're able to hold a good margin, and I believe that EV is sort of a low margin sort of space, but if it's able to be competitive to their peers, And if they're able to turn profitable, there's a lot of ifs that go along with it, but this could be one of those high risk, high reward type plays that we're looking at. Analyst estimates on it. These got dragged through the mud when they did not get the contract. The high estimate still holding up above significantly from where it's at. So 40-ish% above from where it's at right now up to that high side. All right, we got. All right, I want to look at Tesla. Charge point, still long on charge point. I could see it going to that $36 per share if we get really, really good news going out. And 36 is like the average analyst estimate on charge point. If we get really good news coming out about the infrastructure plan, and if we get good news about their margin, a more bullish case we could see it go back into the low to mid 40s over the next 12 to 24 months. Really depends on EV itself. EV just in clean energy, that's really going to, the macroeconomics that are really going to have a big influence over what we see taking place at the charge point. All right, guys, just a quick look at Tesla here, and then I got to call it quits for the day because I've gone on a lot longer than I anticipated to. Actually, to be honest, I meant to be done by 10, and it's 10:43. So time just got to get away from me there. We're dancing right around the 600 mark. It's good to see that sideways trading, that volatility that we saw. I mean, just look at it with Tesla. We also saw it back here as well. A lot of tapering, a lot of consolidating, and then we had that run up to $900. We could be seeing another one of those periods here where we kind of get through that drama and then we push on to that upward movement again. We'll see what takes place. We're still an upward slope with the 200 EMA. We are downward recently, though, when we look at the 50-period simple moving average. All right, guys, it is pretty late. Like I said, it's beyond where I meant to go by quite a bit, about 45 minutes over. So I'm sorry if this went a little bit long. We're going to keep our eyes on arrival throughout the day, and we'll take a look at it tomorrow during the pre-market and the market opening hours, and we'll keep an eye on the news and the short interest and see what all is going on there. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for joining the comments, and check out my channel, subscribe if you haven't, and hit the like button to help me get up ranked. Thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.